Namaskar, this is my 35th lecture and I'm going to bring in a theorist, Dr. Ahmed Karu, what he says about the present situation in Islamic world. He gives us a semi-Marxist interpretation. So let's go through Marx's base superstructure, which I've already talked about several times. So for Marx, society moves through the contradictions between what he calls the base or the fundamental organizing factor of society, the economic modes of productions and the relations of productions. I've explained these terms before. They form the first floor, and the second floor are everything else, so state, civil society, and so forth. And of course, religious institution. And not only that, Marx says something that's very important for us, that this base, the modes of production, the economic modes of production, affects the superstructure. So the fact that we have either a monarchical state or so-called liberal bourgeois democracy, these are all fundamental modes of production, reflections of those, mirrors of those. And the fact that religions, like monotheistic religions, came up at a certain point in history, it is also historical. It's not eternal or anything. Now, what we have to also understand before going to Dr. Ahmed Karu is that according to Marx, in each historical stage, one class controls the modes of production. And when other class tries to overcome that one class and controls, there's a conflict, and then there's a struggle, usually violent, and then we move to the next level. For example, the movement, according to Marx, and this is contested, from the feudal to the capitalist system is not only a contradictions between the modes of productions and the relations of production, because the modes of productions were changing to industrial capitalism, but the relations of production were also changing from feudal serf to wage labor. There's no longer a serf. It's not possible in capitalist society to have people giving them food and giving them shelter and clothing and not paying them. So it's better in industrial capitalism to give them wages. So we have the new concept of wage labor. But also there is a contradiction between this change in the modes of production and the superstructure, which is the state can no longer be monarchical. It has to be what we know as representative democracy. But in each historical stages, someone controls the modes of production, one class. And so there's a contradiction between the new class who is emerging and the old class who is still trying to hold on to the old system. Now, here the bourgeoisies are the new class. They were trying to break the shackles of the feudal lords, and they're trying to move France, the revolution happened in France, to a new mode of production, which is industrial capitalism. Professor Ahmed Karu says something very interesting, which is something we can use to understand what is going on in Muslim majority nations and in Islamic societies that are minorities scattered throughout the world. One of the questions that he asks is, how come Islamic societies during say 1300, 1400, 1200, etc., they were so advanced. In Baghdad there was a huge plethora of art, culture, and so forth, and they were more advanced than Europe. And then slowly it's backwards. They went backward and Europe progressed. And he gives us a very interesting quasi-Marxist answer to that. He says that the bourgeois class is very weak in Muslim majority nations, and we can also transfer it to Muslim minority nations. So unlike Marx, who actually blames the bourgeois for the misery of the working class, he says actually the bourgeois class in Europe broke the old feudal system, especially theocracy, and brought in a new capitalist system and civil society. What's happening in Muslim majority nation, whether they're constitutionally secular like Turkey or constitutionally theocratic like Pakistan, it doesn't matter. The state, first of all, it's corrupt. like all states. And then it is in alliance with the ulamas, the priestly class, which is exactly what Nietzsche was criticizing in the 1900 when he was writing his genealogy of morals. And the bourgeois class is so weak that they cannot break that alliance and bring in a huge civil society, secularism, and so forth. By the way, Marx is a critic of secularism, which I'm going to talk about in my next video. But for here, the solution is to industrialize, have this strong bourgeois class, a large enough class, which is what in advanced capitalism, a large middle class, which will break that alliance of the ulamas, the priestly class, and the state. And it will bring in a civil society. It will, in fact, he says that it's somewhere between these two. See, Marx's, these structures are very gross. In between, there are several structures, and to bring it into capitalism. So he actually supports the bourgeois class and the evolvement of capitalism in this sense. It will break that alliance of the ulamas and the administration and will put Islamic nations into modernism. Now, what's interesting is he goes against Marx in talking about the merit of the bourgeois class in breaking that alliance of the priestly class and the monarchy, first of all. And second of all, he actually praises liberalism and secularism to some extent, and Marx does not. And that will be my lecture for my next video. What is Marx's real criticism of secularism, which he considered a liberal bourgeois ideology? For today, that is all. Namaskar. Please like, subscribe, comment to this video. There is a QR code. You can donate to Swaka Harshita Foundation so that we can go on continuing this video.